Perfect. Good. So sometimes it's like, great. This is part of the reason why I like to have the little slideshow in the beginning to remind me of all the different things. So, the intention of this space is that it is safe, that it is confidential. We are recording. There are 22 people registered for this workshop, and anyone who's registered will get access to the recording. So that's something just for you to know for the future, for any of these events. That's how it works. We want to be able to share this information with anybody who feels inspired to be here and to benefit from it. And so that's one way that we're able to do that. And obviously, not everybody always can be here live. So for those people that do feel called and do register, that's going to be there. I share that with you because there are going to be moments where we open for questions and reflections. So we want to hear from you. We want to hear how things are landing, and we want to engage in a collaborative way. And just keep that in mind in terms of that level of confidentiality and personal shares. We do keep it close knit, but it could be seen by other people who have registered. So definitely want to share that with you so that you can make your own choices around what you feel comfortable with as we move through the evening. How it's going to go is we're going to talk a little bit about transitions, or actually I'm going to share a few things there and then guide you through a practice, an experiential practice, where you can consider perhaps a transition that you might be experiencing in this moment, or if there's nothing that pops up for you now, it'll be one that you've experienced at some point, perhaps something that's coming up for you. And then we're going to transition into Katie. She's going to share some aspects of her experience with transition. She's going to guide us through some breath work. And then we're going to seal that together with some energy medicine for the entire group. So we're going to bring that in. We're going to recognize any priorities that are here, and we're going to use the modality of body talk. We're going to bring in a little bit of tapping to kind of bring in and support the way that we move through transition and through the empowerment of our breath. And then we're going to open it up to everybody. We want to hear about your experiences, questions that you have, reflections. So, Katie, anything I'm missing? Anything you want to share at this point?
No, you're doing great, and I'm 100% with you.
Okay, awesome. Excellent. So, before we dive in, or as we dive in right here, I want to invite everyone to join me in just taking a moment to arrive. If that for you, if it's comfortable to close the eyes or lower the gaze, I invite you to do so. If it feels more comfortable to keep those eyes open, that's where you can kind of lower the gaze and, almost like in yoga, just sort of find a point of focus so that we can sort of narrow the stimulation that's coming into the body mind. And if it's comfortable for you, perhaps bringing the hands to the body. Maybe a hand over the heart, a hand over the abdomen, if that feels welcome and comfortable in this moment. And feeling your buttocks in the chair, feet on the ground, or wherever these parts of the body are, just noticing. Noticing the sensations of breath in this moment. And together, we'll take a few cleansing breaths. So inviting the breath to come in through the lungs and in through the chest, perhaps a little bit more fully. And opening to a smooth, gentle exhale, releasing. Again, full breath in. Without forcing anything here, just as much as the body will allow in this moment, breathing in. And loosening, softening, feeling into the breath as it releases through the exhale, grounding here into this moment. One more time, full breath, opening to receive. And on the exhale, feeling into these parts of the body that are in touch with the ground, with the furniture, your back, your buttocks, your hands. Just allowing the breath to resume into its natural rhythm. Becoming aware of all of the energies of today and just taking a moment to invite all of the energies from the moment of waking up through until now to meet you here. Allowing anything that's here to settle, settling into this moment here and now. Inviting the whole self to be present, whatever that means for you. There's no right or wrong. Let's invite another full breath. Smooth exhale. And just taking a moment, becoming aware of any intentions that you have for this session, for this workshop, for this evening. Just acknowledging any hopes or expectations that are here. And imagine that you could allow those also to be seen, to be heard, and to settle. Perhaps loosening them with each exhale and just allowing whatever's here to unfold. Gently inviting one more full breath here. And smooth exhale, releasing right here into this moment. If the eyes are closed, gently inviting them to open in your own time and your own pace. If there's anything that came up in your intention or expectation that you want to take note of, just go ahead. You can write that down. Just allowing that to be seen here as we move further in. So welcome, if anyone has been joining us. Feel free to put your name and your location in the chat. We'd love to know where everybody's coming in from as we dive into this topic, finding flow amidst the transition. So let's talk about transition. Let's talk about change. Right? Just like the seasons and everything that flows around us, we are in a continuous relationship with change. It's all the time, right? There's the saying or this quote, the one constant in life is change. So whether it is the day into night, whether it is children growing up into adults, we can count and we can, count on this constant flow of change in our lives. We see it all around us, right? Right here in the heart of summer. What's happening, whether we're in Montreal or we're in Miami or we're, on the East Coast or the West Coast, perhaps somewhere else altogether. What's happening around us, right? With the lands, with the trees, they're in a constant flux of change. We go through in our relationship, we are in a relationship with the ebbs and flows in our life, right? What does the time feel like? Very common when we're experiencing something that feels unpleasant. We might be feeling a sense of stuckness. We don't like what we're experiencing. We want it to go faster, right? We might feel stagnant. We might feel stuck. It's like it's not going fast enough. Often in those times, our minds are filled with thoughts of how we wish for things to be different. When is it going to change? And we're really hoping for things to flow in a desired direction. So let's just take a breath with this one. Perhaps I imagine we all have had an experience with this, end of the spectrum of our relationship with change. Other times in our lives, we might be really enjoying what's going on. And it might feel like things are moving quickly. We want the time to slow down, give us some more moments, hug me longer, right? Like, I don't want this to end. And in those moments, our relationship with time and with change often feels like things are going way too quickly. We want to pump the brakes. We might start to have thoughts around that of it's going too quickly. I wish this would last longer, right? And so there's a spectrum of our relationship. Is it a pleasant experience? Is it an unpleasant experience? Is it more neutral? Maybe with something more neutral, we might feel more in the zone. We might just be in those moments without too many thoughts of wishing for it to be one way or another. This is the interesting thing also about the relationship of pleasant or unpleasant or neutral, is that even on the pleasant end, oftentimes we're wishing for something, just like we are on the unpleasant end, right? We're wishing for it to last longer, for it not to end or change. Whereas on the unpleasant, we're kind of hoping for the opposite. Let's go, move along more quickly. I can't handle this any longer. I don't want this experience anymore. The unknown is also an inherent part of our relationship with transition, with the changes. What is it going to be like? What's going to happen? It's not uncommon for us to feel discomfort in the face of the unknowns. We're stepping outside of our comfort zone as we consider taking on a new career, as we move into a new grade or a new age or a new job, as we move from, being single to being in a relationship. It might be what has been desired, or it might be something that we've been dreading, a change. Either way, we don't exactly know. We get a lot of ideas of what is it going to be like, right? Some of those might be accurate, some of those might not, but it is inherent that the unknown is a part of our relationship to change. Some things we see in patterns over and over, like those trees that we looked at in the beginning. We know, right, that summer moves into fall, and fall into winter, and winter into spring. So there can be things that we can rely on and count on, and that we do know as well as we face change. We do know that if we have children, right, they will go from 1 to 5 to 15 to 25 and beyond, right? So there are some consistencies even in this flow of the unknown. Changes in our lives come in all shapes and sizes. Like, I love these little dogs on here. I have a friend who has a couple Great Danes, and I was like, oh, they're just so cool, those big dogs, right? But our changes are like this, or sometimes they're huge, and sometimes they're so teeny. Sometimes they're so tiny we don't even notice them, and it's like, if you've ever had that experience, growing up, I feel like a lot of people have the experience where they might see a relative they haven't seen in a long time. And that relative is like, oh, you've gotten so big, right? Because it's like been months or a year or whatever since you've seen them last. And for you or for your parents, maybe we don't see that change because we're with it every day. But you come into something that's like a more, long term, a little bit more distance between something, and the change feels a lot bigger. So we all go through these different sizes. This has to do also with our relationship to transition. The impact of these changes, like this, how much we're growing, right? What's happening with my hair, what's happening with my job, what's happening in your lives, where are transitions in your lives? Where are you feeling the call for change? Maybe it feels like a readiness, maybe not. And what will the impact be? Different changes have different impacts on us. And so if you think back or through some of the changes that you've moved through, some of the transitions that have been a part of your life, maybe in this moment, let's simplify that a little bit because that's pretty big. Maybe think of one larger transition and one smaller transition that happened in your life, and just whatever comes to the top of your mind, right? So this is just a quick piece here, and think of the impact that it had on you. expected or unexpected. Did you know? Did it meet your expectation? Did it not? Was it completely different, something out of the blue? Did you have an expectation? Right? Oftentimes we feel excited about certain things, or we feel disappointed about certain things. And these emotions, these experiences that we have can actually give us information about how we have been in relationship with what we're living. Right? Oftentimes disappointment signals that there were expectations that we were aware of or unaware of. And the same thing can be the case for excitement. Does it meet it? Do I continue to feel excited? Oh, I'm going to a theme park. I want to have a great day. And I go there and it meets that expectation. My excitement rises, right? So just thinking about some of those, the impacts in your life. So, whoops, let me just hop back here for a minute. So, just a couple of truths here, right? In this life, we are in a continuous relationship with change. This doesn't stop. It's part of our experience as human beings. It's not a problem. And it's, sometimes it doesn't always feel like an opportunity. We can be in the range of perspective with what we're moving through at the same time. Sometimes it might feel like doom. Sometimes it might feel like a gift, right? Sometimes like a problem, sometimes like an opportunity, always an experience, just an experience, right? This is something we're moving through. So it's constant change. It's going to be a part of our lives, and we will be impacted in large or small ways by the things that happen, right? Ah, there we go. Here's my slide. That's funny. That was a pseudo slide, but here we go. So, why are we here? Why are we talking about this? Well, this is why, right? Those two truths that I was just speaking to, this is why. It's important for us to bring this topic to the table to say, what do we do with this? Yes, our perspective, our relationship, our experience changes as we go through this, and it's part of what we experience in our life. We can count on it. So, to develop skills and how to be with change, to increase our awareness of what it is that we experience as human beings and how we can equip ourselves to move through it, perhaps in a way that we desire a little bit more. We may not always like the change that is presenting itself, but we do have a choice on some level of how it impacts us and how we are in relationship with that. And so that's why we're here. This is, the motivation for Katie and I coming together. We've actually been talking for a couple of months about change. And one of the gifts of Katie being in my life is we meet, and we meet pretty regularly. And one of the things that we talk about is what's going on with you now, what's going on in your business, what's going on in your personal life. And I will tell you, hands down, there's always change. I could talk to her 2 weeks later and there's something different. So how do we best support ourselves when we're moving through these moments of change? This is what we want you to take with you tonight. Some tips and tools for how to best support yourselves. And I know, and I think I can speak for Katie, and she's going to speak more, but that what we teach you tonight is what we practice in our own lives. So I'm going to end this show for a moment, this little slideshow, because I want to just see all of you a bit bigger here on my screen. And I want to share a little story tonight. So some of you know this and some of you don't. I have been on a nomadic journey, which now I'm about 16 months in. So in February of 2021, I packed up all my belongings, I donated most of my things, and I uprooted from Miami, Florida, and I took my life to the road. And on this journey, it has been an accelerated process of being in change. I've been living in different locations, sometimes for a week, mostly. I like to do deeper dives, right? So, like 2 months, 2.5 months, 3 months is probably my average. And going from, one place to another, living there, rooting there, getting to know the place, the people, the land, the culture as much as is available. I've been doing this in the United States. So, although some states have seen me more than once, I think I counted that I've been in 10 different states in the past 16 months, living in them and living with different people. So transition has been on my mind and in my life in a really big way in these past 16 months. And one of the things that I noticed and that I wanted to share with you tonight came up for me over and over. But I'm going to talk about a transition where I went from living in the state of Colorado, where I had the opportunity to live for about 3 months with one of my brothers and his wife and two of their children. And I went from that period of about 3 months into where I was going next, which was I was going to Sedona, Arizona. Sorry, my view just changed here. So let me just adjust something. Oh, thank you. Let me see. I don't know how to stop. Okay, so Katie's telling me my screen is still, did it stop? It stopped. All right. So everyone,
we can see you now without seeing everything else.
Okay, weird. That is very strange.
You're good
So
now.
my computer is on a little delay with the change, but thank you for that heads up. Right, so I'm just going to tell you, right? So I was living there. I was living in Colorado for about 3 months. I was living with my brother and my sister-in-law and his children, and it came time for me to transition to the next location. My next big stop was going to be going to Sedona, Arizona. And as I was preparing for that and starting to think about getting my stuff together and thinking about my intentions there and what were had my intentions been staying in that house, and did I live them, and what were my intentions moving forward? And I started to feel, a whole bunch of different things. Part of me didn't want to leave. I had just had these moments of connection with my brother. I hadn't lived near him since I was 19. Like over what is this? Oh, almost 20 years, over 20 years of not living in close connection with my brother, never having lived in that close connection with my sister-in-law or my nieces and nephews, like going from seeing them, maybe definitely once, maybe twice a year, to having this experience. There was a part of me that didn't want it to end. And I felt sadness at that. I felt attachment to the routine I had created in that home and with them and the dinners and the mornings and all of that cool stuff. I loved Colorado, the land, the hikes, the things that were going on there. Really cool. And then, the idea of transitioning to Sedona, where I was actually going to be staying on my own, that was very exciting. And at the same time, it was going to be a very different scenario. So all of these different emotions, from excitement to sadness, and I could feel it within me. I could feel the attachment and I could feel the readiness to move on. And this was happening with me over and over, really with each and every stop in different ways. And how do we, be with this mix of emotions when we're going through change? I remembered, and it was at the stop that I really thought about it, where there was a time earlier in my life where I was leaving my job at Florida International University, where I worked at a place called the Center for Children and Families. And I was leaving that actually to start active exchange and to be more fully in active exchange, which is my private practice and all of the things that I get to do in that now. And there were a flux of emotions. I felt, like ungrateful and grateful. Like I questioned myself at that time earlier on, right? Like, is me leaving this university, am I ungrateful for the job that I had, for the people that I met, for this opportunity to work here? And, different mixed emotions about that. And then thinking about, wait, what about the opportunity that I'm stepping into? What am I afraid of? Right. And I noticed fear and all of these different things. And what I did was I started a practice to hold space for all of it. And I want to share that with you tonight. So I want to invite you to take a moment right now. And maybe you thought about this already earlier, but to think about a transition that you're in at this moment in your life that you might want to hold some space around. Maybe it's a small one, maybe it's a big one, the size doesn't matter. And if something doesn't come to mind, think of something that you've gone through already. Right. And so let's just take a breath with that. And exhaling, feeling into the groundedness of the body. Right. So where I'm acknowledging how when we move through different changes, we can feel a mix of emotions. And this practice is, I call it very simply, the ball jar gratitude practice. And I'm going to have you just experience this. You don't need the items with you, but what I do is I literally take a ball jar. This is just a glass mason jar. And I take a thing of sticky notes and something to write on. And I'm going to invite you, if you have something to write on, or you can just do this in your mind's eye. So if you're doing this in the mind's eye, just inviting the eyes to close. If you have paper or something to write on, you can get that out. There's no better or worse here. And invite this transition, name the transition. Okay. And, sometimes I literally like to put on here, right? Like I'm currently in Virginia and I'm in Richmond, Virginia. And on Saturday, I'm transitioning again to the Outer Banks. And so I might literally, and even a simple way, right? It doesn't have to be beautiful, doesn't have to be perfect, just, Virginia to the Outer Banks. And this is part of what I'm putting on my container. Okay. And I might even write in there gratitude, right? Because I am intending to bring gratitude to all of the emotions. That's the container that I want to hold it in. I don't have to be perfect. I might not feel grateful for all of the emotions that I feel about it. I might have some stickiness or some resistance around some of that. But overall, this is what I'm intending. I would like to approach this change from a place of appreciation or gratitude. And then just taking a moment and noticing if there are any pleasant emotions or thoughts that you have about this transition that you're holding space for. And write down one or two or three of those. And then just taking a breath and calling up any potentially unpleasant thoughts or emotions that you might be having around this transition or have had. Fears or worries, maybe resistance, maybe wishing for it to go faster. Yeah. Yeah. And writing down one or two or three of those. And then inviting a breath. And just imagine putting it all in the jar. It all goes in the jar, the pleasant, the unpleasant. Right? We're holding space for all of it. We're acknowledging that this is happening. We're acknowledging that this is here. And we're setting some intention for how we're holding this, right? This is what's going on with me right now. I lost a loved one. I'm thinking of a job change. I had a new baby. I'm starting a new, I'm starting something new and exciting in my life. Um, Anything. And we use this to hold space for that. You can come up with other intentions that speak to you. How do I want to hold it, right? And in this practice, serves as a literal container, right? And so that container can also be figurative. Maybe you're not at home and you don't have your jar with you, but a thought or a feeling comes up. You can imagine putting it in there or jot it down to add it the rest of the day. But you start to know what is the, what am I intending around this? How am I holding space for this inevitable change? What kind of relationship am I in with it? So just capturing any thoughts or feelings and being with that. So let's just take a full breath. One more breath here. And gently exhaling. And just for now, you can come back to this practice. You can come back to this in particular transition that you're holding some space for. And at this point, I'm going to hand things over to Katie.
Thank you, Becca. I really like that when you were telling your story about, the big transitions you were making. It brought to my mind how ceremony can really help slow it down and hold all those emotions, and then leading us through that very literal and specific way of holding that type of ceremony. I really appreciate. I've never done it that way, and I like that. I'm going to apply that. So yeah, when I think of transition for myself, what comes to just support and share in all of the wonderful thoughts that you've provoked so far in this session, is transitions that are unexpected and transitions that are desired, right?
Mm-hmm.
Ones that are intended, ones that come from surprise, right? And so me, I went through a huge transition where, I think you mentioned about 4 of them. When it comes to big transitions, I experienced them all within a year.
Mm-hmm.
So moving countries, having a new child, as well as a new partner to have that child with, and basically trying to determine an identity in such a quick transition. And that was all unplanned. So I have a reference point for what can happen when things all of a sudden take place. And whatever your perfect storm is, I'm sure each of you have experienced somewhere along your journey. You can relate to 3 responses that occur. You either fight, meaning you get angry, you get mad, or maybe you say, no, I don't like this. I don't want this. This isn't good. You defend, you protect, you run from it. Maybe you disconnect, you shut down, or say no, and go in another direction, or try to find another solution, or try to find another footing, running from the current situation, right? And then there's also freezing, absolutely not able to move, completely stuck, and time is going by, but you are not. So these 3 distinct responses, you might know where I'm going with this. These lie in your nervous system. So these are your beautiful coping mechanisms. They are meant to help you transition through change. Often people can get stuck in these coping strategies and feel that they're always fighting for their life, or protecting or defending themselves. They're always feel like they're running from something, or putting up boundaries and moving away from things instead of going towards things, right? Or they are just shut off, overwhelmed, burnt out, tired, right? So when we see that our nervous system is coping more than it is living, it's probably come from a really unexpected quick change somewhere along your journey and imprinted into your nervous system. And so we can call that trauma. There's big traumas, little traumas, right? But that's that quick change that's unexpected. Now, we can hold a lot of emotions when we have intentional change. But with intentional change, there's a bit more of a sense of stability within yourself that can still create stress and stress coping responses. And it will depend on how your nervous system has been programmed to react to the unknown, and basically your self-confidence, right? And your way of feeling secure and moving through your journey in life. Because the nervous system very much is a subconscious system. So one major discovery was by Dr. Stephen Porges, who studied babies as they're developing in the belly. And he was looking at the development of the nervous system and how that applies to breathing and basically living and developing, which are those distinct moments of change, right? A baby comes out of the belly. That's one of the biggest moments of change. Some will say that's the biggest trauma of your life, and then the other moments. So what happens in the nervous system that allows us to respond to change? And that's how the how is so important. It can be traumatic, or we can go through it in a healthy, constructive way. And that's what I want to impart with you today when it comes to thinking about your nervous system and using breath to access your nervous system. So you have a vagus nerve that comes down from your brain, and it goes through your neck, and it innervates into your gut, into your diaphragm, into your heart, and your brain. So this is the longest brain in your body, connecting all the major parts that will have you react to change and transition, will have you emotionally process. And what happens is, if we aren't aware of the ability to keep this nerve toned, and when I say toned, it means it's all, think of nervous nerve endings and impulses. They're sending signals. So that toning is what Stephen Porges would say is social engagement. It means it has a flow. It means it feels connected throughout. If you feel like you start and stop, you fight, you freeze, all of those things, then a bit of your innervations, if you will, in your nervous system aren't toned. And there are very practical physiological ways to help yourself to tone your vagus nerve. And Dr. Stephen Porges has proven how this physiological aspect of our bodies actually influences our behavior and our mental states and the way that we socially engage, which transitions our social engagement, right? We can stop and freeze and pause and take a breath, right? But life really isn't stopping around you. Trust me, I've tried to make it. It didn't work. It kept going. So if you want to move through with life as it's moving and transition more gracefully, if you will, and remain present in the process of those unexpected changes, or those little and big changes that are occurring for you seasonally, or as you sit with them and think about them in your life today, then here's a couple tricks, okay, so that you can embody transitioning with social engagement. I'm using that word because that's Dr. Stephen Porges' word. What it implies is that sense of safety, that you interact with others because you are okay and you know they're okay. And so if you can have that interaction within your being and with others, the change, no matter how unknown it is or unexpected or deliberate, whatever it is, each of those moments are connected to a sense of okayness, safety, right? So to tone your vagus nerve, you can, and it's incredible how effective and easy and accessible it is. One, meaning you can give yourself a nice little massage here every day, and you can do that right now if you'd like. You could take a deep breath in through the nose, and you can relax and feel the humming in your throat. So if the nerve goes through here and you hum, and you gently massage, you stimulate that nerve. You can even do it from behind the ears in circular motions. And you could take a deep breath in and take a long, gentle hum out. Feel the humming deep in your throat. If you want to get a little bit more inside and really feel it resonate, you can plug your ears, you can cover your eyes. You can really cocoon in the humming. Humming is a great way to tone your vagus nerve. Another way is to apply cold in your life. Why cold? Well, think of your conductivity as electrical impulses. They're going to react based on quick changes in temperature, right? Like when you go into cold water, what happens? Right? Your nervous system, unless you're trained in cold water and you have minimized the reaction state, typically this breath will occur and all of your sensory and your skin and your whole nervous system will light up just a bit. That will tone it. So once again, just like the humming, you want to use cold in an okay, socially engaged way, where you consciously say, I'm going to apply cold right here. Of course, when somebody surprises you with cold, it's like, whew, okay. But the more your nervous system is toned to socially engage with any form of change, then your response won't come with another fight, aggressivity and yelling at somebody. How could you spray me like that? So, and defending yourself as if there was a danger because you got startled, right? That's just an example of how your nervous system is going to, you can navigate the reactionary state. And so cold water practices, even like 10 seconds after your warm shower, 30 seconds, even putting a cold drips on your neck or a cold washcloth, hands in the cold, feet in the cold, just apply cold. If you're one of those people that are like, I hate cold, then definitely do it. So your nervous system can start getting adjusted to toning, meaning it's turning on in safe ways instead of tragic ways, right? Where the stored responses then become panic or insecurity or fear, right? The fight, flight, or freeze mechanisms in the nervous system. And so cold, humming, and there's also the breath being the number one access point for your whole nervous system. It is the gateway to your autonomic nervous system, which, if you've never heard of that phrase before, basically it involves a parasympathetic portion of your reactionary state, which is rest, digest, and heal, and your sympathetic system, which is do, go, action. So if during transitions, the excitement that Becca mentioned about something new or the unknown, it's going to activate, let's say, a panic or energy It's going to activate your sympathetic, which resides in your chest, okay, your upper portion of your breathing. So you might have shallow breaths or can't catch your breath, or you might have tightness in your chest. You might feel like you can never calm down or you don't sleep well. This means you're overly heightened in your sympathetic. So if you balance that out with your parasympathetic, which is your lower portion in your breath, your sides, your back, so your low ribs, they open and they open wide. You know, I'm going to invite each of you just to take a deep breath in right now. Let it go. I'm going to invite you to do it again and notice, does your rib cage lift up? Or does your rib cage go out? Or does it do a combination of both? Does it move at all? Maybe the way you're sitting will vary it, but notice, tune into that every day, because your rib cage moving is going to be the indicator of how well you're breathing, and how well you're breathing is going to be the indicator of how you can process. So if you are breathing optimally, your rib cage would open out. It would be a circumference breath, meaning it opens from inside, not just the belly in the front, right? It opens from the back and the sides too, because the diaphragm, as you breathe in, will come down and that will all open. So you get the air in the lower portion of your lungs. If you can't access that circumference breath, say you have a vertical breath, your shoulders raise up, your rib cage moves up this way. Okay? You have to work to change that. So here's some techniques for you. Okay. Just easy, simple ones. Do it at your desk, do it throughout the day. Of course, there are more extensive ones that you can dive into if you hear what I'm saying to be a very viable way of life and lifestyle to improve your breathing and get deeper into it. But for just tools, you know, practical use each day, take your hands to your lower ribs, right? Find where your ribs meet your soft tissue, right? Your stomach area. Wrap your thumbs around back so you feel the back ribs. Okay, you feel the side ribs. Okay, now relax your shoulders and your jaw. Because when we put our hands like this, we might come up, right? So relax. And when you take a deep breath in now, you're going to breathe into where your hands are. That gives you the feedback. So feel your ribs push against your hands as you take a breath in. And then exhale and feel your ribs come back in. So range of motion in your rib cage is essential to deeper breathing, more efficient breathing. And the range of motion is out and it's in. So even when you exhale right now, you can even push it in a little bit more and help loosen up that range of motion. Okay, so do a couple that way, with the feedback. And now when you breathe in, take a deep, full breath. Exhale completely all the way afterwards. And then you're going to clamp your hands and hold your rib cage in place. So clamp meaning you're not going to squeeze like this, but you're going to pull them together like a clamp. And then you're going to breathe in gently against that clamp. Keep your shoulders relaxed. Breathe into the lower portion. That's why that feedback is a neuromuscular feedback. You have to stimulate the senses to know to go there. Okay, it won't go there naturally very often in a day because of sitting and doing all sorts of other things. Okay, so getting that neurofeedback. Now remove your hands and see how you breathe now. If I were to tell you to take a deep breath in, see how that breath feels. Is there any movement more in a circumference versus a vertical movement? So you could go back to that as often as you need. There are other ways to open up the sides, right? Open up the back. But essentially, that's what's going to free up your breath, is noticing where you brace. Think of bracing as tightening your stomach, tensing your shoulders, squeezing your jaw, tightening your jaw. All of these in the body, these bracing, tension, maybe even habits or moments. Maybe they're not habits for you, maybe they're moments. But that bracing is what limits the free flow of your breath to access the rest, digest, and heal, which should be about 70% of your breathing pattern, should fill up the lower portion of your body in one breath. Then it overflows into the sympathetic, the chest. So 30% is the doing. So when we're transitioning, whether it happens unexpectedly or it's by desire, you can physiologically access the rest, digest, and heal portion of your nervous system, which is that calm, which is the stability, which is the social engagement, the okayness, that everything's going to work out, even if I don't know what the heck is going to happen. It's still going to be fine. And then the 30% of doing, what are the things that you need to put into place from that base of okayness to have fun, to enjoy, to feel gratitude, to recognize the whole big picture that is this experience, right? That's the doing, 30% of that. So I just want to run you guys. Now, I'm going to give you a technique that people have been using this breath. You might know about it. It's called a connective conscious breath. It is also known as rebirthing, a transformational breath. Wim Hof uses this breath. This is a very common breath practice because it stimulates the nervous system to restructure it. It turns on everything. It changes your pH balance. It accesses your memory in your brain. It sends dopamine signals. It does a whole bunch to your nervous system. And within doing that, it's this moment of transition that you get to work with consciously. That's why breathwork is so amazing, because it is your gateway into your subconscious. It's your gateway into your physiology. It's one of the only physiological aspects that we actually have a say in, right? And so this breath can be done with poor breathing mechanics, and it could become this traumatic change experience, just like anything could, because your system is built to do that. Your system has social engagement, it has fight or flight, and it has what's called demobilization or freeze. It has these 3 levels to cope. You have access to them, right? You're not wrong for being in any one of them. You're working. But most healthy flow neurotransmitters that send through your brain to your spinal cord and all your digestion and all the things that happen subconsciously ideally come from a toned vagus nerve that's in its social engagement, its okayness, right? That it's okay. Even whatever we're doing, whenever we're saying goodbye is okay, and whenever we're saying hello, it's okay. It's all going to be okay. We can transition through that. So this breathing practice, I'm going to do a couple of minutes of it here with you. I do host longer sessions. I have one happening this Saturday if you'd like to join. Don't do longer sessions unless you're with a facilitator. You can do shorter sessions on your own as a mini practice. The breathing that I'm going to give you today is something that you can follow. I'm going to have you follow for a little bit, and then I'm going to have you do it without following, just so you can notice the difference. There's one with something supporting you and guiding you. And then there's one that allows you to just be who you are and discover what that is on your own. So it's nice to do both. Now, here's the breath. we have transitions in your breathing pattern, right? We inhale, we exhale, and we have pauses. Okay, so what we're going to do in this breathing is we're going to remove the pause. We're going to actually remove any transitional space. Why are we going to do that? Because if you can bring your awareness, your mind, your focus to the point where the inhale goes into the exhale and the point where the exhale goes in the inhale, and you can just focus on that window, honestly, you can do anything. That process physiologically with connecting your mind, body, and breath, that infinite space of inhale to exhale, exhale, inhale in your life force is just full of this magnetic potential. So often, because this isn't a normal breathing pattern by any means. So very often, placing our awareness on this for a long period of time is difficult, and we get distracted and our mind goes, and all sorts of things can take us away from that. So if you start to get the hang of it, where you pay attention to that little space when the inhale goes into the exhale and the exhale goes in the inhale, you get good at holding that awareness. Now your breath, as it moves through you, becomes you, like you become in it. Your whole mind is in it. And if your whole mind is in your life force energy and in that transitional state, there's something magical. This is the best way I can describe it. It's something magical that happens. And this is why this breath is so healing and profound by so many breath workers in the world. This is an air, element. So it's also in your nervous system, which is energy. So we are going to ground after we do this breathing. And I highly recommend that you also ground if you practice this at home after this breathing, because the energy and the air aspect, can kind of take your awareness or your level of consciousness into different planes. Might feel uncomfortable, might be unknown to you, and essentially just by grounding, like eating heavy foods, walking barefoot on the ground, moving your body, getting into the actual physicality of your tissue after you do this breathing, those all help ground. Okay, so we gonna get this started. I'm gonna share my music with you. Becca, do you have any questions for me?
Nope, sounds very good. You're good. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. So for the sake of this practice, you can sit upright. You are more than welcome to lie down if you have the space to do that. Be in a position that allows you to relax your shoulders. Keep an open airway, meaning you're not bringing your chin too far down or too far up. You have tubes here, keep them open. You can breathe in and out through your nose or in and out through your mouth. You're going to notice that when you breathe in and out through your nose, which is a better breath to get into the lower portion, you'll be able to access lower and bring it up probably a little bit easier. It takes a bit more training to do mouth and access that. So if you're never done this breath before, I highly suggest that you do nose to nose today. So the sound that I'm going to play for you, you're going to find what your inhale is and what your exhale is. It's a neutral way, so you just find your rhythm. We're going to stick with it for 5 minutes, and you're going to bring your awareness into the moment the inhale goes into the exhale. And you're going to continually do that breath after breath after breath. And so sometimes I coach people to really feel the breath come in, but we're working on transition today, and that's the greatest way to really embody transition, is to put your awareness right in to the inhale going into the exhale and the exhale going into the inhale. And so if you can fill up the lower portion and then the upper within the inhale, and then just relax and let go as soon as possible on the exhale. Remember, bracing is what keeps the body in fight or flight or freeze. So when you're doing this breath, no matter what you're feeling, no matter what you're thinking, let go. Don't brace, right? Find the moments of tension and release them, and breathe deeper, breathe fuller, expand inside. And you can do that more and more as you go along by relaxing the bracing. Okay, so I'm just going to give you that cue too. All right. Let's start with a big sigh of relief where you feel your rib cage open, your breath comes down and moves up your chest. And when you exhale, every little muscle relaxes. And you can begin breathing through your nose. Okay, now we're going to use it without the cueing. Continue to breathe deeply, filling up more and more in each breath and letting go. That transition of taking in life, that future, and letting go of what was. Releasing, relaxing into the release. Just being in this present moment and letting go what is. Noticing how your inhale goes right into your exhale goes right into your inhale. And exploring the space within, how much more space can you create with each breath, how much more range of motion can you create in the live with each breath. You being the container of the whole experience, allowing your inhale to draw in this present moment, and your exhale, inhale, relax, release, relax, knowing you're okay. You don't need to navigate and manipulate and control, fight, lead any action. You just see. You're letting go of all the bracing in your body every time you exhale. You're finding that nice, smooth, present inhale. Connecting this transition. Becoming one real breath. One connected conscious breath. You're an active participant in your inhale and exhale. Your ability to feel, and your ability to be. Knowing each moment, whether conscious or unconscious, each moment means this element. Inhale and the exhale. It's okay if your mind strays, just come back into that connection, into that transitional moment where the inhale meets the exhale and the exhale meets the inhale. And feel the air fill up that lower portion of your lungs. Feel the bracing that can occur in your stomach, in your chest, in your shoulders, or your face. Let it all relax. And you draw in deeper. You let go more. Being fully present to your experience. Being an active participant in the process. Knowing that everything is okay. That's how you get to take in a relaxed, empowered state. And when you exhale and let go, everything can relax. Nothing needs to hold. And the breath goes round and round, creating an energy, creating feelings, sensations, or thoughts. It's moving your life force energy through you. And you're participating with that movement. You're inviting that movement. You're allowing whatever needs to change without needing to be fully aware of it. Your awareness on your breath is enough. Your awareness on your breath is your vital energy, your life source. So you start to feel this rhythm and this connected breath. Feel pleasurable. such a full, deep presence, a full way of letting go. Letting your breath take over. And your mind just stays focused on that transitional moment. And then the depth and fullness of each breath in and each exhale out. And now I invite you to either hold your breath or calm your breath. Let your breath breathe you. You can put a hand to anchor your heart and your chest. You can put a hand on your stomach. You feel your feet in the ground. And this is a great moment to just be. Let your body and your breath find its own rhythm. And you just observe it, be present to it. This builds trust in your system, trust in your capabilities. You can trust your breath and your process of breathing. You can trust that the inhale brings you into the present moment and your exhale saturates you, fills you, releases you. It allows you to receive. Trusting your body in this intelligence that resides within, your inner healer, your inner knowing, your inner truth. Trusting that through any transition, that engagement with yourself, with your mind-body connection. This is what's going to give you solid footing. And give you the lessons that you're supposed to learn along the way by listening. Great. So there's a little over like 11-minute practice. You could take a note if you like, any insights that came, any stable thoughts, right? Grounding information.
Beautiful. Thank you. Thank you. So, just going to take a moment. Katie, are we ready for a transition?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, in this beautiful space, thank you so much for that. We're just going to take a moment all together, and I'm just going to tune in. I'm just tuning in with the group energy that's here. And as we were just winding down in that breath, and as you're jotting down the last pieces, um, if it's comfortable for you, I'm going to invite you to close your eyes just to kind of feel into this body and feeling into the groundedness of your body. There's no better or worse. So if it's more comfortable to keep the eyes open a bit, to find a point of gaze, that's perfectly fine. And we are going to open this up in just a moment. But there are some energies here that just want to come in to support everything that we've been talking about, all of the practices that you've been experiencing and engaging in with us. And so feeling the buttocks, feeling the back, feeling the arms. If anybody has to leave at the top of the hour, I assure you, I'm going to let you know when that is. So you can even relax and release any attention to the time, inviting a full breath in. And open mouth exhale. Just allowing that to go through the body. So we're working with an agenda here, which is an overarching focus that is here for all of us. We're working with the collective, all of us, wherever we are tuning into this session. And this also applies to anyone who's watching this in the future. If you're watching this in the future and you're here or you're not here, all of this is set up to continue to work with the same activation. And what's coming up is we're supporting the mind and letting go, right? So often, the mind, we put so much emphasis on it, and it is incredible and it is important. But this body, we've got so much more of this body that is also really important. And so this is just loosening, particularly from the thinking mind. And so maybe just taking another breath here. And exhaling. And first thing we're working with is the circulation of blood in each and every organ, with a particular emphasis on the liver. In Chinese medicine, the liver has a lot to do with planning, executing. What are we processing? What are we storing when it comes to our emotions and our experiences of life? This is the particular factor in the liver, this organization of whether or not we're ready to process things. We're bringing in that circulation of blood right into that factor and into the communication with each and every other one of our main organs, inviting a breath. This is linking into hydration. And so I'm just going to bring in some fresh water here. And if you have some and you want, you don't have to, but you could just take a little fresh water on your finger and just bring that, just like I did, over my chest, right under the collarbone. This is sort of where the thymus is in the body. And so we're also bringing hydration specifically into each and every main organ of the body. We're bringing hydration into the vagus nerve with a particular focus up at the top of the brainstem, right where the brainstem starts to meet the occipital lobe. We're highlighting our perspective, how we see things in the world. We're bringing hydration into this connection between the vagus nerve, our perspective of how we're viewing things, and the relationship that this is in interaction with and interrelationship with through each and every organ in the body. Inviting a full breath here. And there's one more piece that wants to come in, which is we're linking all of this also into the heart chakra with a particular emphasis on our capacity. We're expanding our capacity for receiving self-love. And feeling into the groundedness of the body. Just allowing all of this to be here. I'm going to invite you actually to bring the hands over the heart space. Got a lot of focus on the heart chakra, on the circulation of blood. So we're just highlighting that here. And I'm going to invite one more full breath. Smooth exhale. Just tapping this in. And I'm just going to invite everybody to join me. So if it feels welcome, just taking your hands and gently tapping over the top of your head. Feeling into the breath, tapping over your heart space, all around this chest area. Deep breaths, tapping into the abdomen, the gut brain, all around the abdomen here. Breathing. And one more round, tapping over the top of the head. Tapping over the heart space, receiving, just receiving. This being here tonight is an example of each and every one of us expanding our capacity for self-love, tapping into the abdomen. And just taking a moment, when it feels welcome, you can invite the eyes to open. There's no rush here. Feel free to write down anything that's coming up for you. And Katie and I were speaking the other day and talking about this workshop and talking about our experiences of transition and change. And, I was telling her that I had just traveled these past weeks. I've been in 4 different states in about 4.5 weeks. And she was driving from New York City. She had been in Montreal, traveled to New York City, driving to Connecticut. And she said, I might not quote you exactly, but she said, if we are comfortable deep within the wells of ourself, right, we can find comfort in the face of any change. Right? And that's this nervous system, the breath. What is the container? Can we hold the whole of it? Can we acknowledge what's here? This helps us stay online. This helps us stay online with ourselves. And in this lifestyle of health, of connection, and when we take care of ourselves, we're better for showing up for all of the other things in our world. And this really is a trust, right? The core of our being, allowing the core of our being to be our constant. And in that core, our self-trust, the trust in ourselves, that we can stay online, that we can recognize when we're not, and pause or find resources. So as promised, it is 9:01. If anyone's got to hop off, I totally understand. However, I know Katie and I would love to hear from you. So if you do have questions, if you do have experiences you'd like to share, please unmute yourselves. We're here. We're probably going to stay on till just about 10 after, and then we'll cut it there for everybody. I know it's getting late, so I want to be respectful of time. And also, actually, we have a couple of announcements too, but you'll get them in the email if you can't stay on, or Katie can share. But I want to open it up to all of you. Any experiences coming up, any questions that you have?
I thank you so much to both.
Really, it's
Sorry,
essentially it's the movement of the wheel of breath, right? That activation is often what I like to say is that tingling. Sometimes the tingling can get more intense and it can turn into cramping. I don't know if anybody experienced that. Usually that doesn't occur in a 10-minute session. That would be a longer session. But that too is a process of transitioning to find a deeper exhale. Often if we start to go into cramping, we are cutting our exhale short. And so I really love this practice in the breath to really find how quick can you relax, and then how quick can you take in again? And can they really mirror each other in efficiency? And then that circulation and all the nervous systems really respond. They really turn on with that movement. Thank you for sharing that.
I'll share. Hi, everyone. I actually was experiencing a little tiny bit of cramping at the very end at the bottom of my, I guess, rib cage. But it was like 2 breaths and then it went away. But thank you. It's like reminding me how to breathe and just kind of take it easy and not feel like I'm always having to be on the hamster wheel all the time. And I can control that and be my own person again. So thank you.
I want to add to what you're saying, just to say that this is not a normal breath by any means. It's an activating breath. And so that activates that vitality that gets you inspired to say, oh yeah, like coming into my body and breathing is like, yes, let's do that more often. Because that's we just turned up your vitality, right? So your mind is going to think like that. Oh yeah, like let's breathe and be alive, right? But this is not a normal, efficient breath. Okay. I teach different techniques to access that normal subconscious, like really efficient breath. This one is activating breath. So I just wanted to make sure you all were aware of that. Do not start changing your breathing pattern to have no pauses in them.
So this is a practice, like you were sharing with us, to strengthen the vagus nerve, to strengthen our relationship within the nervous system, to know that we can move through challenges, that we can feel like the nervous system inviting us to fight, to flight, to freeze, and we can move through it. We can stay in the process. We can stay in the movement, and we're literally toning the muscle and inviting also right through the lower portion. This is my understanding, sort of that activation of the parasympathetic. So you taught us a lot of different things, but would you say that that's right? Okay.
Beautifully said.
Awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Amazing. Yeah. Well, if anyone else has questions or comments or shares, I think you either have, everybody here either has my contact or Katie's contact, and at least by tomorrow or Monday for sure, you'll have all, both of our contact information in case you need that. I'll be sending that out in an email. You'll get an email with a link to this workshop in case you want to watch it again or you have anything there. And just a little announcement here in terms of the work that I'm doing with Active Exchange is that we are offering something the third Thursday, a community event, same thing, donations only, cost optional, every third Thursday of the month. And it runs in rotation. So we're either doing a book club, which will be next month, or a connection event where we're doing stuff like this. We're talking about topics specifically. I'm inviting people that are amazing at what they do and have really great stuff to offer, to come in and share and collaborate, and so that there's some beautiful take homes, and you get to experience like what you experienced tonight, a little energy work, a little sharing, etc. So stay tuned for those things. And Katie, I want to open it up to you. She's got something special to share, and also if you want to share how people can stay in touch, even though I'll put that in the email.
Yeah, great. Thank you, Becca. Basically, I want to gift you guys for showing up. And if you are interested in doing more breath practices currently in whatever you're transitioning in, I want to give you guys, I host a transform session, which is the connective breathing for 60 minutes. It's online. It's set this Saturday. But then I want to give you a full month of my program, which is Mind Body Monthly. So there's 4 sessions each month. One is called an expand session. And I will provide those dates, or you can find them on my website, or when you log in, when you get the code, you'll log in for free, and you'll get all the information in the portal. You can always send me a message and ask me to clarify anything, but just in short, expand sessions teach a daily practice that we do for the whole month based on a theme, because I've been doing this since the beginning of the year, teaching various ways of interacting with your breath so that you can have clarity and work for health, all the, even restructure how you sleep, all sorts of things that we're using the breath for. And then we do a peace session, which helps you before you go to sleep. It's a guided breath meditation. The transform session is on the 3rd Saturday every month. And then we finish the month off with a connect session, which is breathing to open up the body for the breath. So we'll be doing specific body postures and movements with the connect session. So I want to give that to each of you, and you'll receive the coupon and the information from Becca's follow-up email. Oh, and I guess you can find me on Instagram and Facebook and at my website, katiemacwellness.com.
Thank you, Katie.
My pleasure.
Yeah, thank you, Katie. Thank you, everyone, for being here. You guys being here is just as important to us showing up. So thank you so much. I hope you enjoyed. Reach out with anything. Yeah, and I wish you all a fabulous night's rest.
Thank you, Becca.
Thank you.
You're
Thank you so
welcome.
much.
Have a good
This is
evening.
awesome. Thank you.
Thanks for being here. Good
Thank
night.
you.